A college freshman vanished from her dorm on a Friday night. By Sunday morning, 2 organizations were racing to find her: the FBI and the Mongols Motorcycle Club. What happened in those 48 hours would expose the largest human trafficking operation on the West Coast and prove that sometimes the most dangerous men become the best hunters when hunting monsters. But this story begins 3 weeks before Emma Carter disappeared, in a place where nobody expected a war to start, a dive bar called Iron Horse. Lisa Carter had worked at Iron Horse for 3 years. It wasn't a fancy place, just a bar attached to the Mongols clubhouse on the outskirts of Portland, Oregon. Leather-clad bikers, cold beer, classic rock on the jukebox, and pool tables that had seen better days. Lisa was 42, a single mother who'd raised her daughter Emma alone after her husband died in a car accident when Emma was 6. She'd worked 3 jobs to put Emma through school. Now Emma was 19, a freshman at Portland State University on a full academic scholarship, studying pre-med with a 4.0 GPA. Lisa was proud. Emma was going to be a doctor. Everything Lisa had sacrificed was paying off. The Mongols treated Lisa like family. They tipped well, never got handsy, and made sure drunk customers respected her. The club president, a massive man called Reaper, had made it clear on Lisa's first day, "You're under our protection. Anyone disrespects you answers to me." Lisa had never needed that protection. Until she did. It was a Tuesday night, slow for business. Only a handful of Mongols at the bar, nursing beers and playing pool. Lisa was wiping down the counter when 3 men walked in. They didn't look like the usual customers. Expensive leather jackets, not motorcycle gear, fashion stuff. Designer jeans, watches that cost more than Lisa made in a month, and something else, an air of cold professionalism that set off alarm bells. The tallest one had a shaved head and a scar running from his eye to his jaw. He spoke with a thick Russian accent. "Vodka. Good vodka, not American garbage." Lisa poured 3 shots of the best vodka they had. The men didn't thank her. They sat at the bar, speaking quietly in Russian. Lisa tried to ignore them, but she caught fragments of English mixed in. Shipment, container, Portland docks. One of the Mongols, a younger member called Slider, approached the bar and deliberately stood close to the Russians. "Evening, gentlemen. Don't think I've seen you in here before." The scarred Russian looked at Slider with dead eyes. "Is public bar, yes? Public can drink here." "Sure can," Slider said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Just being friendly. Welcome to Iron Horse." The Russians finished their drinks and left without another word. Slider watched them go, then turned to Lisa. "You okay? Those guys made you uncomfortable." "I'm fine," Lisa said. "Just weird vibe." "Yeah, I got that too. Russians, probably Bratva. They've been expanding. Operations up the coast from California." Slider pulled out his phone. "I'm letting Reaper know. Bratva in our bar means they're scouting." Lisa didn't think much about it after that night. But she should have. 3 days later, Emma called her mother. Upset. "Mom, there's this guy who keeps showing up wherever I am. At the coffee shop, at the library, even outside my dorm. He's always on his phone taking pictures. Did you go to campus security?" They said they'd look into it. But without him actually doing anything, there's not much they can do. Lisa felt a cold fear settle in her stomach. What does he look like? "I don't know, maybe 30s, shaved head, has a scar on his face." Lisa's heart stopped. "Emma, listen to me very carefully. That man was at my bar a few days ago. I think he followed me home." "What?" "Mom, why would he do that?" "I don't know. But I want you to come home this weekend. Stay with me until we figure this out." "Mom, I have midterms. I can't just leave." "Emma, I'll be fine. Campus security knows about him now. They're keeping an eye out. I love you, but you worry too much." Emma hung up. Lisa stood there holding her phone, every maternal instinct screaming that something was terribly wrong. That night at work, Lisa told Reaper about the man following Emma. The Mongols' president listened carefully, his expression darkening. "The Russians from the other night," he said. "They were here scouting, not for drugs or territory, for targets." "Targets for what?" Reaper's jaw clenched. "Human trafficking. The Bratva runs one of the biggest networks on the West Coast. They scout locations, identify vulnerable victims, track their patterns, then snatch them when the opportunity's right." Lisa felt the room spin. "My daughter. They're watching my daughter." "We're gonna handle this," Reaper said immediately. "Slider, Ghost, you two are on protective detail. I want eyes on Emma Carter to 7 until we figure out what these Russians are planning." But they were already too late. Friday night, Emma was studying late at the library. She texted her roommate at 10:47 p.m. "Heading back to dorm, see you in 15. She never arrived. When Emma's roommate reported her missing at midnight, campus security reviewed footage. The cameras showed Emma leaving the library, walking across campus. Then she passed a blind spot between two buildings, a gap in coverage that lasted exactly 30 seconds. Emma never emerged from that blind spot. Campus security called Portland police. Police called the FBI because of the potential trafficking angle. And Emma's roommate, frantic and scared, called the one number Emma had given her for emergencies, Lisa's phone. Lisa's phone rang at 1:23 a.m. She was closing the bar. The moment she heard Emma's missing, she dropped the glass she was holding. It shattered on the floor. Reaper took the phone from her shaking hands and got the details. He hung up and immediately called an emergency meeting. Within 20 minutes, 30 Mongols were gathered at the clubhouse. "Emma Carter is missing. Grabbed from campus around 11 p.m. Last seen heading into a camera blind spot. The Russians who were here last week were scouting for targets. This was planned." Reaper's voice was ice-cold fury. Lisa was sitting at the bar, tears streaming down her face, in complete shock. A biker called Tracker stepped forward. "I got contacts with street cameras, traffic systems. If they took her in a vehicle, I can find where they went." "Do it," Reaper ordered. "Ghost, you coordinate with the FBI agent handling this. Find out what they know. Hammer, you reach out to our chapters in California. Find out everything about Bratva operations, their routes, their safe houses, their shipping schedules. We got maybe 48 hours before they move her out of state or out of country." "What about Lisa?" Slider asked quietly. Reaper walked over to the devastated mother. "Lisa, look at me." She raised her tear-filled eyes. "We're going to find Emma. I promise you. These Russians made a mistake coming into our city and taking our family. They're going to regret it. The FBI," Lisa started. "The FBI is good at building cases. We're good at finding people who don't want to be found. We'll work both angles." What Lisa didn't know was that the Mongols had dealt with human traffickers before. 3 years ago, they'd stumbled onto a trafficking operation in Sacramento. The Mongols had shut it down violently. Since then, they'd made it a club priority to watch for trafficking activity in their territories. Tracker worked his magic with surveillance systems. By 3 a.m., he'd found the vehicle, a black cargo van with stolen plates. He tracked it through traffic cameras across the city. "They went to the docks," Tracker announced. "Port of Portland Industrial Section. Van entered at 11:34 p.m., never left. Either it's still there, or they transferred her to another vehicle inside." "Or a shipping container," Ghost said grimly. Reaper's face hardened. "Gear up. We're going to the docks." "Boss, that's a bad play," Hammer said. "Docks are federal property. We go in heavy. We're looking at federal charges." "Then we go in smart," Reaper said. "Ghost, what did the FBI say?" "Agent Parker is on her way. She said the trafficking task force has been tracking this Bratva cell for 6 months. They know the players, but haven't been able to catch them in the act." "We can give them that," Reaper said. A plan was forming. "We find Emma. We get proof. We feed it to the FBI. They make the arrests clean and legal." It was a good plan. But plans change. By 4 a.m., 15 Mongols were conducting surveillance on the port of Portland. They'd split into teams, watching from different vantage points using binoculars and long-range cameras. Slider spotted them first. Got movement. Southeast corner, warehouse 17. 3 men, Russian-looking, going in and out. They're loading something into a refrigerated container. Can you see what? Reaper asked through the radio. Negative. Too far. But they're being real careful about it. Whatever they're moving, it's valuable. FBI agent Parker arrived at the Mongols' surveillance position. She was a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s, who'd worked trafficking cases for 15 years. She didn't waste time with judgment about bikers helping. What do you have? She asked Reaper. He showed her the surveillance photos. Warehouse 17, 3 targets. They're loading a refrigerated container that's scheduled to ship to Vladivostok in 6 hours, according to the port manifest. Parker examined the photos, and her face went pale. That's Viktor Kozlov. He's the head of the Bratva's West Coast trafficking network. We've been trying to catch him for 2 years. If he's personally overseeing this shipment, it's major. Major enough to include a 19-year-old college student? Absolutely. College girls with no criminal record, good families. They're premium merchandise for the international market. She could be sold for $200,000 or more in Eastern Europe. Lisa, who'd insisted on coming despite Reaper's objections, let out a sob. Reaper put a hand on her shoulder. We're getting Emma back. Today. Now. But we need to do this right so these bastards go to prison forever. Agent Parker made a call. I'm bringing in the tactical team, but it'll take them 90 minutes to assemble and brief. Emma might not have 90 minutes, Reaper said. Then what do you suggest? We create a distraction. Draw them out. Give your team time to get in position and raid the warehouse while the targets are away from the container. Parker studied him. What kind of distraction? Reaper smiled grimly. The kind that bikers are good at. Loud, obvious, and impossible to ignore. Here's what happened next. At 5:47 a.m., 30 Mongols motorcycles roared into the industrial port area. They weren't hiding. They were announcing their presence like a rolling thunderstorm. The Russians heard them coming from a mile away. Viktor Kozlov, the Bratva leader, came out of Warehouse 17 with 8 armed men. He saw the Mongols forming up in the open area in front of the warehouse. This was exactly what Reaper wanted. Draw them out, away from the container. Kozlov was a cold, calculated man, but he was also arrogant. He thought 30 bikers were no match for his trained soldiers. You are trespassing on private property, Kozlov called out in heavily accented English. Reaper dismounted and walked forward, hands visible, no weapons drawn. We're looking for someone. A 19-year-old girl, Emma Carter. We know you have her. I know nothing about any girl. Really? Because we have you on camera taking her from campus 12 hours ago. Kozlov's expression didn't change. You have no proof of anything. Leave now, or my men will make you leave. Behind the warehouse, completely unnoticed, FBI tactical team was moving into position. Agent Parker was with them. Reaper needed to buy more time. Here's what's going to happen, Reaper said. You're going to hand over Emma Carter, unharmed. Then you're going to leave Portland and never come back. You do that, you get to walk away. Kozlov laughed. You think you can threaten me? Do you know who I am? Yeah. Viktor Kozlov, Bratva lieutenant, wanted in 3 countries for human trafficking. And in about 2 minutes, you're going to be in federal custody. That's when Kozlov realized he'd been played. The bikers were a distraction. He spun around toward the warehouse, barking orders in Russian. His men started running back to defend the container. But it was too late. FBI, hands in the air! Agent Parker and her team emerged from 3 different positions, weapons drawn, surrounding the warehouse. Kozlov's hand moved toward his jacket. Bad move. A single shot rang out, not from the FBI, from Hammer, who'd positioned, himself in a sniper role. The bullet hit Kozlov's hand, shattering bones and sending his gun flying. Kozlov screamed and dropped to his knees. The other Russian guards tried to fight. It didn't go well for them. Between the FBI tactical team and the Mongols moving in, They were overwhelmed in seconds. 3 Russians took off running toward the docks. Ghost and Slider pursued on their motorcycles, cutting them off before they could reach the water. Inside Warehouse 17, FBI agents found the refrigerated container. It was locked with a heavy industrial padlock. Agent Parker cut it with bolt cutters and pulled open the door. Inside was a nightmare. Emma Carter was there, unconscious, drugged. But she wasn't alone. There were 4 other girls, ages ranging from 16 to 22, all of them drugged, all of them destined for shipping containers bound for Eastern Europe. "Get EMS here now," Parker shouted. "We need 5 ambulances." Lisa pushed through the FBI agents and ran to her daughter. "Emma, baby, wake up!" Emma's eyes fluttered. She was alive. Paramedics arrived within minutes. All 5 girls were loaded into ambulances. Emma was rushed to Portland General Hospital, with Lisa holding her hand the entire way. The Russian trafficking network fell apart quickly after that. Viktor Kozlov, facing life in federal prison, made a deal. He gave up names, locations, routes, contacts. His testimony led to 47 arrests across 3 states and 2 countries. The FBI discovered that the Bratva had been operating in Portland for 8 months, trafficking an average of 3 women per month. Emma would have been victim number 24. But the impact of that morning went beyond just arrests. Emma spent 2 days in the hospital recovering from the drugs. She had no memory of being taken, only waking up in the hospital with her mother beside her. When Reaper visited her room, Emma was awake but shaky. "You saved my life," Emma said. "Your mom saved your life," Reaper corrected. "She works for us. That makes you family. Family protects family. I don't know how to thank you." "Don't thank me. Just promise you'll keep working hard, become that doctor, and help people. That's thanks enough." But Emma did more than that. When she recovered, she became an advocate for trafficking victims. She spoke at schools, educated students about the signs and dangers. She turned her trauma into purpose. Lisa quit her job at Iron Horse, not because of bad feelings, because the Mongols gave her a full-time position as their office manager with better pay and benefits. They wanted to make sure Emma could focus on school without her mother working 3 jobs. The Mongols' relationship with law enforcement changed after that case. Agent Parker wrote an official commendation, noting that the Mongols' assistance led to the takedown of a major trafficking network. While the club still had its rough edges and legal troubles, they'd proven they could be allies in the right circumstances. 6 months later, there was a ceremony at Portland State University. The school was unveiling a new campus safety initiative, funded partially by donations from the Mongols Motorcycle Club. Emma spoke at the ceremony. "6 months ago, I was drugged and kidnapped. I should have been shipped overseas and lost forever. But I'm here today because a group of people decided that no amount of danger would stop them from bringing me home. They weren't police officers or federal agents, though those heroes helped too. They were bikers, Mongols, and they taught me that family isn't always about blood. Sometimes family is about choosing to protect people, even strangers, because it's the right thing to do." 30 Mongols attended the ceremony. They stood in the back, uncomfortable in their leather vests, surrounded by students and professors. But when Emma finished speaking, the entire audience stood and applauded, including them. Reaper felt something he rarely felt: pride that had nothing to do with being feared or respected in the streets. This was different. This was being honored for saving someone. After the ceremony, Emma approached the Mongols. She had something in her hands, a framed photograph of all of them from the morning of the rescue. "I want you to have this," Emma said. "A reminder that you saved 5 lives that day." The photograph now hangs in the Iron Horse bar, right behind where Lisa works. Under it is a plaque that reads, "Some heroes wear leather. All heroes choose courage." But the story doesn't end there. 2 weeks after the ceremony, a Russian man showed up at Iron Horse. He was older, distinguished-looking, in an expensive suit. He sat at the bar and ordered vodka. Lisa tensed immediately. Russian. At her bar. Again. Reaper and 4 Mongols materialized around the man within seconds. "Relax," the man said calmly, hands visible. "I am not Bratva. I am FSB, Russian Federal Security. I came to thank you." "Thank us for what?" Reaper asked suspiciously. Viktor Kozlov was wanted in Russia for many crimes. His operation brought shame to Russian people living in America. When you helped FBI capture him, you also helped us. Russian government requested his extradition for additional charges. He will spend rest of life in Siberian prison. The man stood, placed a business card on the bar, and nodded respectfully. "If you ever have trouble with Russian criminals, you call this number. Not all Russians are monsters. Some of us hunt monsters too." He left. Lisa picked up the card. It had a phone number and one word. "Spasibo." Thank you in Russian. Reaper pocketed the card. Well, that was unexpected. 3 years later, Emma Carter graduated from Portland State University with a degree in pre-med. She'd been accepted to OHSU Medical School with a full scholarship. At her graduation party, held at Iron Horse, 50 Mongols showed up to celebrate. They'd watched this young woman transform from a traumatized victim into a powerful advocate and future doctor. Emma gave a toast. 3 years ago, I was told by a therapist that trauma would define my life, that I'd never feel safe again, that I'd struggle forever. But you know what? She was wrong. Because the same night that the worst thing in my life happened, the best people in my life showed up. They risked everything to save me. They showed me that evil exists, but so does extraordinary courage and love. She raised her glass. To the Mongols. To my mom. To Agent Parker and the FBI. To everyone who believed that one scared girl's life was worth fighting for. Thank you for teaching me that family isn't about DNA. It's about showing up when someone needs you most. 50 bikers raised their beers. Lisa wiped tears from her eyes. Reaper stepped forward. "Emma, we're proud of you. Every single one of us. You took the worst moment of your life and turned it into strength. That's the mark of a warrior." He handed her a small box. Inside was a pin, not a patch, just a small motorcycle symbol with one word engraved: courage. "You're not a member," Reaper said, "and you never need to be. But this is a symbol. It means you've got 50 brothers who will ride through hell if you ever need us again." Emma hugged him. This massive, tattooed biker who society would judge as dangerous. But she knew the truth. He was one of the best men she'd ever known. The Russian trafficking network never rebuilt in Portland. Word spread through the criminal underworld. Portland was protected by the Mongols, and they didn't tolerate trafficking. Other organizations tried to move in over the years. Every time, they found themselves facing not just law enforcement, but an army of bikers who'd proven they were willing to go to war for victims. Emma is finishing medical school now. She specializes in trauma care for trafficking survivors. When she works late nights in the emergency room, she sometimes sees a Mongol in the parking lot, just checking in. Lisa still works at Iron Horse. She's family now, in every way that matters. And Emma? She keeps that pin on her keychain, a reminder that on the darkest night of her life, angels showed up wearing leather and riding Harleys. Sometimes the most dangerous men become the greatest heroes. Sometimes courage means riding into hell to bring someone home. And sometimes family means 50 bikers who will never let you face monsters alone. The Bratva learned that lesson the hard way, and Portland's streets became a little bit safer because of it.